So, tonight's presentation is titled Key Challenges Within the Water Sustainability and Humanitarian Sectors. And our guest speakers are Alan Barton, former global business leader for resources and waste at Arup, and Will Natman, an associate of the Worshipful Company of Water Conservators and a senior manager at Save the Children International and founder of the Rural Schools Water Project. Alan was installed as Walbert Warden in July 2025. His career has led him towards being passionate about this wonderful planet we live on. His particular focus is on sustainability and the resources we use to sustain. For 17 years, he worked for Arup as their global business leader for resources and waste, and this has enabled him to travel the world helping people understand how they can better handle the planet's resources. Will is an IT leader in the humanitarian sector with extensive experience in WASH. He is currently a senior manager at Save the Children International, overseeing global finance and supply chains. He also founded Rural Schools Water Project, a UK charity which has delivered water systems for schools in eastern Uganda and launched the free-to-use rainwater system design app. Alongside his professional work, Will is completing an MSc in water management for development at Loughborough University's Water Engineering and Development Centre. So, warmly welcoming Alan and Will, over to you guys for tonight's presentation.
Hello, everybody. It's lovely to be here. It's lovely to be joined by so many of you. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I think we're just going to try and have a bit of a chat, try and address some of these kind of wider questions that have prompted this webinar. And I think our hope is that towards the end, obviously, we'll open this up and very much welcome everybody that's joining to ask questions and become part of this conversation too. Alan, do you want to add anything?
Equally. Thank you for everyone. It's always good when some people turn up because it'd be a bit embarrassing if nobody did. So, thank you for joining. And Will's going to ask the first question, I think.
Excellent. Okay, so, Alan, I'd love to learn more about your career and your kind of career leading into sustainability. And I'd love to hear the story, to hear the highlights and the challenges.
Yeah, well, it's been a long career. And it's been a lot of fun as well. So I was wondering how far to go back, and I'll go back. My father said to me, join a nationalised industry, son. So I thought, right, I'll listen to what my dad said. So I didn't go to university. And I joined the local electricity board in their drawing office because I was really keen on drawing and engineering and things. And I stayed there for 7 years. But then I got tugged on the shoulder by one of our colleagues that had left and joined a petrochem industry. And he said, hey, we need someone. Will you come and work with me? So I said, yeah, okay, I'll give that a go. So I left the electricity supply chain, went to petrochem type place, and realised there I needed to be a chartered engineer if I wanted to get on in engineering. So I started studying for a chartered engineer. They then went through some redundancies, and I thought, this isn't good. And I noticed an advert in the paper, and I thought, fine chemicals, Paul, that's be convenient. So I applied, and I actually got the job in a fine chemical producer. So we made all sorts of ultra high purity chemicals, and that was fun. Especially the reacting uranium with hydrochloric acid to get uranium chloride, which caused a lot of challenges. And during that, we did a hazard of the process, and I met someone from Matthew Hall Engineering. And the company had a major fire in Poole. We managed to evacuate 8,000 people at the centre of Poole, which I thought, maybe I ought to start looking for another job, which I did. I tugged this guy that was leading the HAZOP and just mentioned I was thinking of moving. And he said, "Oh, why don't you come and work for me?" Which I did. And I worked for Matthew Hall. They used to design North Sea oil rigs, and I led a project to install a hazardous waste incinerator at near Fawley Refinery, which went well. And at the end of that, the engineering director of the company that we worked for said to me, "Hey, why don't you come and work for me?" And I did, because we were going to build hazardous waste incinerators in Spain, Italy, and Portugal, which was fun. Took 18 years to get permission to build the one in Italy. The other two fell away. I then volunteered to do a bit of troubleshooting for another part of the group, because there was a business that wasn't doing well, and it was all to do with landfill gas engines. So I worked on that for a few months, and at the end of that, said to the MD, "Hey, it's been great fun working with you. If there's ever anything I can do for you in the future, just let me know." And he said, "Oh, okay." A few weeks later, I got a phone call, "Come and have a chat," which I did, and he made me a director of the business to run that whole department. So that was a big moment. And we did all sorts of things, all sorts of ways of running the business, because everybody was new at being directors. So we tried all sorts of stuff. And all this time, one of the things I became involved with was studying what's the most modern form of management, because my lecturers on the chartered engineer course didn't really have the answer. But that changed into why be a leader, which I studied and talked to lots of people and went to conferences and read books. And I found the answer to that at a senior management leadership program, which I got involved in, run at Balliol College for a week. And I witnessed a team form into an incredible entity. They really achieved fantastic things, life-changing moments for all of them. And they formed a team which was just exceptional. They pledged their support for each other. And I then realized that, to me, business is about providing a life-enriching experience to its people. Yes, you've got to make money, but that's the prime purpose of business, in my view. I was then asked by the managing director of another part of the company to go and work for him, which I did, and did that for a couple of years. And then the company that I worked with when I first became a director won a massive contract in London to look after the northeast corner of London's municipal waste disposal. And that's when I first started to get involved with recycling, because we had to divert 67% of their waste away from landfill. And we ran 4 civic amenity sites and built £300 million worth of infrastructure in London, which was fun. And that did that for a few years. And I became, there were 3 long-serving directors in the company, and normally the directors lasted about 5 or 6 years. So I made it for 18, and then it was my turn to go. And I parted ways with Shanks then. And I volunteered, and I was a non-exec director of London Remade. And I went to a conference because we were looking to set up a consultancy. And I ended up in a conversation with someone from Arup and said, "Why don't we try and work together?" Anyway, that conversation led into a series of conversations with other people, and they then offered me a job, which I thought, well, that'd be fun, because Arup is a wonderful company. It's got offices all around the world, 92 offices around the world, and it's a great ethos as well. So I became their global business leader for resource and waste, which is good. And then in 2010, there was another big moment. And a bit of a story. We discovered my great-great-grandfather was at the Battle of Trafalgar. And in 2010, I sailed over the spot where the battle took place. And I looked out to sea and thought, wow, I wonder what his life was like. And a few moments later, I thought, I wonder what life will be like for my great-great-great-grandchildren. And I thought, we'd better start living sustainably. So from that point, I started putting more effort into understanding sustainability. And we used to do thought leadership pieces in Arup. All the directors were encouraged to do thought leadership pieces. And I did a bit on what should the world of waste look like in the year 2063, because that was 50 years in the future. Eventually, I've sort of put that down a bit. I'm now just a consultant for Arup. And I lecture as much as I can to universities and anyone that will have me about sustainability and treasuring our planet for the future. So that's been the career. Some of the highlights, getting chartered engineer, that was 5 years, part-time study, horrendous amount of work. Had to pass the 6 papers because it's the same level as a BSc honours, second class honours degree. And in the year I took you had to pass them in 3 years. So you could do 2 each year if you wanted, but I did all 6. And of the 1,987 people that sat the exam that year, there were only 6 of us passed all 6. So that was a big day when I read my results. So that was good. Becoming a director was good as well, because all of a sudden I was involved in steering and leading a business as well. And then winning that big contract in East London, because we set it up and I became managing director of it. And we set it up and I put into practice all the things I'd learned through my studies of leadership. And we developed a fantastic ethos and achieved great things. Yeah. And I was equally pleased when I was encouraged to become a warden of the Water Conservators, because some people really wanted me to do it. I thought, well, that would be good.
I wonder if I could ask a follow-up before you find out.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about that kind of chapter looking at municipal waste in London.
Yeah.
I think particularly also, I think you said that was kind of around the millennia, kind of up until
Yeah.
So kind of with hindsight now, with those years of extra experience, I'd love to learn more about that story. So kind of what were the key municipal waste issues and challenges? And then at that time, what were the key barriers to, waste circularity or waste to energy? And then looking back, what didn't you know then that you know now?
Well, the northeast corner of London's waste, or London, has been the sort of dumping ground of municipal waste for years. And they said, right, we don't want an incinerator. We don't want an incinerator. We want something else. We want something which is going to help us recycle and divert waste, because the landfill directive came out of Europe, and you had to, by a certain date, 2018, I think, divert 67% of your waste. And they went to market for a PPP. It was 1.3 billion pounds worth of revenue over the 25 years, 300 million pounds worth of infrastructure to build. And our solution was a thing called mechanical biological treatment, where you put the waste in a very big hall, and it gets warm, sits in there for 14 days, and that drives off a lot of the water. So you can stop, and it stops it smelling, basically. So you can then process
weight,
it.
Presumably reduces the weight a lot.
Yeah. About 25% of the mass disappears.
Yeah.
And you can then put it through refining equipment, and you can produce a number of streams. Obviously, aggregate, the light paper, the plastics, the iron and the aluminium. So you can put it through refining equipment. I've seen one of those, and they actually get 9 streams of it. And the Coca-Cola bottles, or the PET line, or PTFE line, the PET line was brilliant. You could just think, Christ, there's about 95% quality, purity material going through that conveyor. So that was good. But then but you had to get planning permission for 2 large waste facilities in London, which was a bit daunting. It took us a year putting those in. And we had to help them achieve recycling. And we modified the civic amenity sites, and they were a bloody nightmare when we turned up. There used to be 2-hour queues to get into one of them. So imagine on a Sunday you stood in a queue for 2 hours. You're not the happiest of bunny when you get in there. And they didn't really recycle. They just desperately tried to transfer the waste and send it off to landfill. So we upgraded it. We provide separation. We actually took the recycling up to about 95% of what came through the gate was recycled on those sites.
Okay.
Which was a great achievement. And yeah, they decided they didn't want to build a mass burn incinerator. And it was obviously easier to get planning permission for an MBT plant. Not many people knew what it was. So, and it was quite, it was a massive, great warehouse, basically. Yeah, so it was challenging. We had to help them recycle as well, which was more of a challenge. We actually said we would base our system on a co-collected 2-bag system. So we gave everybody in East London an orange bag and put your recycling into the orange bag, and your residual waste in a black bag. And we had a machine that would recognize the orange bags and knock them off the conveyor, basically. That proved reasonably successful, but getting take up to do it. One of the London boroughs is Newham, and I was at the time about 70%, 65% of the population, English was their second language. So there were a lot of new entrants to the UK there. So, getting them to recycle was a challenge. So that didn't work as well as we hoped. But civic innovation and the diversion worked. We actually got to the point where I think about 90% of what came through the gate as municipal waste was diverted. So, yeah, there's some successes there, but it was a few challenges along the way.
And those kind of refined materials that you were then outputting from that process, where did that go? Like, who was picking up that? Was there any commercial value in that at all?
Yeah. Obviously, aluminium is a no-brainer to recycle. It takes about 4 times the energy to make raw aluminium than to recycle it. So that's easy. The iron's easy. The paper and sort of light plastics was shredded and basically sent as a fuel to various combustion plants. The aggregate and the stone was a little bit more difficult because it had all sorts of things in it. So that some of that went to landfill. So yeah, and establishing those markets in the long term, because you had to dispose of that fuel for 25 years. So getting that market set up was a bit of a challenge at the time.
And what about the water output from your processes as well?
The water that evaporated came off is sort of evaporated water, went through a filter, and it's got dispersed into the atmosphere.
Okay.
So we didn't have a lot of water to worry about.
Okay.
And we did.
Very interesting.
We did. We built a building to recycle and process the residual fraction from the civic amenity sites. But because we did so well, we had a big building. It was quite a smart building, because it was right next to the River Thames, the site, and we therefore had to make it look a bit smarter than just a shed, which we did. And we did so well at the civic community sites. There was virtually not much material went into this thing, so we said it was a bit of a white elephant. We didn't really need to build it, but hey, we didn't realise that at the time. So so that was a bit of a waste, but yeah, no, yeah. So that was a challenge. So that's me.
Okay.
I think, why have I got involved in sustainability? I'm a great believer in people, in the importance of people. And I once volunteered when I heard about a concept called the ecology of care, which was coming out of Copenhagen University. And it was about caring for yourself, caring for others, and caring for the planet. Uh, and it really fitted my career because I'd put a lot of effort into developing myself, always studying, always learning. Um, I'm a great believer in people and teams and achieving, as I've said, my purpose of business. But equally, I think this is a wonderful planet we live on. We're not treating it very well. So, um, yeah, that's why I got involved in all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, Will,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you are currently working at Save the Children.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get there? Why did you get there? What are some of the challenges along the way? Because we just
Well,
just to stop you, when I
mm,
left school, it was easy to get a job. It was a question of, could you get the one you wanted?
mm.
Unlike today.
Okay.
So over to you.
So I graduated from a university called SOAS with a political sciences degree in
Yeah.
international development. Just as COVID was happening in 2020. Finished my degree doing those exams during lockdown. And I remember feeling at the time like it was going to be impossible to start working. It felt like the world around us was collapsing. So I got to be honest, I was incredibly nervous. I also, I am now doing a master's degree. But at the time, I remember I had these ambitions to be part of the sector that I am very lucky to now be part of. And I feel there is a general kind of expectation that you go and get a master's degree before you work in the NGO sector, or may even be lucky enough to work for a UN agency or something like that. But I remember being really, really confused. I didn't decide that for myself because I kind of, on the one hand, wasn't very sure what I would do. There was also the financial question, which was absolutely huge. I'd already accrued a lot of debt from my undergraduate degree. So in that kind of context of COVID and not really knowing, I was very, very nervous. And I had, in the kind of last part of my degree, done a work placement where I had done some kind of data analysis work. And I did not think of myself as a particularly quantitative person.
Right.
I had really struggled at A-level maths, and I dropped it. And I picked up that kind of sense of, this is not me. I'm a political sciences person. That's what I can do. I don't do those other things. They're over there. And then that work placement that I did was my first kind of quantitative kind of work. And I remember realizing that I could actually do it. And I found it quite interesting. And I remember being asked to do particular pieces of work and realizing that there were much more efficient ways to do them. It was kind of quite manual, processing lots of data through Excel and pivot tables and all this kind of thing, and producing reports. So in the immediate period after I left uni, I started doing loads of YouTube tutorials on like Learn Python. And I feel like at that time, there was a particular craze around like learn to become a web developer and make loads of money and all that kind of stuff. There was lots of business projects. And I went fully down that rabbit hole. And I started to learn Python and yeah, that has, many years later, turned out to be really relevant to my kind of portfolio of work now, and perhaps not quite in the way that one might think. I'm not a developer. I don't spend my day writing code, but it introduced me to some concepts and ways of thinking about things that actually was a really, really strong foundation. And so I think that was an important thing. But I was at that time, I was like, how am I going to make my way in the working world? I need to go and learn these new skills that the internet is telling me I need to learn and things like that. So I went and did that. Then a little bit of time later, I think in around 6 months, I remember seeing a job posted by, I think, a former SOAS lecturer saying, here's a job at Save the Children. And it was, again, this whole master's degree thing, it was very much presented as this would be great for our master's grads. So I did not for a moment think I'd get it, but I put in an application for it, basically. And it was a role in the kind of IT transformation department at Save the Children International, where I have since worked for the last 5 years or so. But it was a technology focused role. So I very much kind of took I've been doing all of this kind of independent study, if you will, kind of building web apps and things like that. But I also have a background in my study in international development. And I had also at that point, I think probably I'll mention this at some point, but of course I also was founding at the time what is now an organization called Rural Schools Water Project. I didn't get the job, but I did, in those first interactions, meet the person that would later down the line become my first line manager. So a bit later down the line, a few months later, I got another call saying, here's something different. Would you be prepared to do another interview? And that was me joining Save the Children in 2021, which I consider it is something. I mean, that was a big moment.
Yeah,
definitely. I'm hugely fortunate to have had that opportunity, because that was, of course, still within COVID, was still in full force, right? There was no going to the office or anything like that. It was very much still, working at home, which was also a very challenging way to kind of enter a very large organization as well, because how do you get a sense of the people and the relationships?
You picked the sort of NGO type environment as opposed to the corporate world. Was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, it's a good question, that.
I'm good at that.
I think because I want to say yes, but I think I'd be saying yes with the benefit of hindsight. Quite honestly.
Okay.
Who knows? I mean, things could have gone in very different directions. I know that I want to make a contribution through my work to the public good. Globally, right? I want to be of service. And I want my work to be focused on social.
What prompted that?
I don't know the answer to that. A bit earlier, so this is 2014. I was, through a kind of confluence of factors, introduced to a project in a place called Tororo, which is in Uganda. It's in eastern Uganda. It's very close to the border with Kenya. And I was introduced to a project which was essentially, it was a teacher training initiative. And that for me became a window into a very practical set of challenges for schools in that particular area, which is predominantly very rural area. There are many schools which are very seriously under-resourced. I mean,
Okay.
in the sense that there isn't water systems in many schools, or there's no or completely dysfunctional sanitation systems. So I had this opportunity in the middle of the 2010s where I was, I started building relationships with people, and I had this window into a set of very practical challenges. So for me, in a way, I feel like the earlier version of wanting to do work that was in service of the public kind of came through that window, right? Because I could see a set of practical challenges, and I wanted to be able to be useful in response to them. So I say that's a key part of it for me. It kind of built from that.
And that's the charity you funded, you founded.
That became Rural Schools Water Project over the course of several years. So what started as that teacher training initiative, I then continued to be involved with that. And in 2016 and 17, there was a very serious drought which spans the whole of the region. And Truro, as were many neighbouring regions, was very severely affected by that drought. So the kinds of public health challenges that schools were facing even more acute during that period. And that was, for me, the kind of start of what has become my whole kind of professional working life now is about thinking about and responding to those kinds of issues, right? WASH. But that was when the organization really started to kind of formalize, and we registered as a charity in 2016, and we became very focused on WASH issues around that time. And that trend has continued since then.
I think having a purpose, to me, is very important in life, and having a worthy purpose, like you've described, like me talking about the planet, it's very rewarding, isn't it? It's good to be involved in something that you enjoy and that you're passionate about. And that's one piece of advice I'd give anyone. If you're looking for a job, you want to find something that you really do enjoy, that fits in with your values and the purpose that you've decided for yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so what other advice would you give someone who's just done their degree, doing the masters, wants to get a job?
Well, I would advise everybody, first of all, to take my advice with a pinch of salt, because I've got much less experience than Alan. I'm quite early on, really, in my kind of career, but I can try. And I can share a few candid thoughts, or kind of reflections on my own situation, because I joined Save the Children with this aspiration to, I really wanted to do frontline humanitarian work. I really wanted to be really immersed in very kind of practical issues, and working with the people that were most highly affected by those kinds of water sanitation, public health questions, issues. And that's not what I was doing, right? I was very much in a back office function, in an enabling part of the organization, which are also extremely kind of important parts of the organizations as well. But that's what I wanted. So I kind of started off with this idea of, okay, I'm here. This is incredible, but it's not it. It's not the thing is, slightly grass is greener, kind of the thing is something else. And I kind of almost thought I'm a bit of an imposter in this space as well. Like, I'm kind of working in an IT thing. I'm not an IT person, but we'll see how it goes. So I had very much a kind of, I'm this, I'm not that kind of thing. And what I've realized increasingly in the years that have passed since then is that that's not necessarily the best way of thinking about it, I don't think.
Right.
Because IT and WASH are highly transferable sectors and spaces. There is, I think, very fertile ground there. So yeah, I would challenge my former self. I'd challenge anybody now who perhaps has a kind of quite rigid sense of what it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
To kind of think about how different experiences and different different skill sets. Obviously, I can speak particularly to kind of technology and IT. Actually feed into different spaces that perhaps you care about, in particular kind of social causes.
Okay.
So that's one piece of advice I would have. I'd consider how these things feed into one another and how you might actually have one skill set that could be of incredible value in something else as well. I think also just generally, I would say, try not to rush. And I know that's very much easier said than done. I am very glad that I didn't rush my decision to start a postgraduate qualification. I'm very happy that I made the decision when I did. Much, much clearer sense of its utility. And with more experience to, I think, feed into. I think that influences the quality of my work as well. So
I'm just going to share something.
Go on.
Sure. So I mentioned it was a new, how do I get that to get bigger? Well, it was a new board when I first became a director, and I was sat in the kitchen with my MD one day, and we were talking about how people develop and grow, and we came up with this little chart. And we said, well, people that have got three columns really. One is the jobs that you do, the positions you hold. Another one are the tasks that you get on with there, and the other one is the skills training. And you start at the bottom of this chart, and you've obviously got a history. You went to university. You probably, you've done various things. You've done various tasks. You've had your dissertation to write. You've got various tasks, and you've obviously been doing skills. And you spiral up between those three columns. And the trick is at the top of this, you really do want to identify a number of roles that you think you might like to be. And if you decide you want to be a finance director, as an example, well, in the skills, you better go and get yourself to be a chartered financial person, etc. You can actually work out what you need to do to make yourself at least get an interview for one of these positions that you decided, well, maybe I'd like to do that, maybe I'd like to do this. And each of those roles that you find, you really want to find a mentor. You want to be a finance director, you'd best go and talk to a finance director and find out exactly what they do. Because if you're going to, spend a couple of years, whatever, working through this, and mentors can help you as well. But equally, you need to grow a network of people to talk to, because there will be dark nights. There will be moments when you think, Christ, I'm never going to get a job. And growing your network of people you can talk to is good. But equally, you really do need to get a coach. A coach is someone that helps you answer the difficult questions that you might find. They don't tell you the answer. They just facilitate you finding out the answer for yourself. So I think having a direction or a number of directions, but planning it as opposed to not, to me, is quite important. So it's, maybe I stop sharing when the screen's not. I'm struggling to find stop sharing. I have stopped sharing. Good. So I think that if you said to me, what advice would I give? I'd volunteer for everything. The as you did. If somebody offers you something or you get an opportunity to do something, grab it if you can. Always pitch yourself against something really difficult, because by achieving it, you grow. You're a good example. Never stop learning. Find something you're passionate about, because in your life, you're probably going to spend about a third of it at work. So you best be doing something you really enjoy. But then what sector do you go into? What do you do? Really, you've got to start crystal ball gazing. What are the sectors that are going to be needed, important in the future? No, water is one, in my view, that, it's the most precious. After oxygen, it's the one thing we need. And then you need food. Sustainability, I think, is over the next 60 years is going to be even bigger, because hopefully we do get to realize we really do have to change. I gave a presentation to the energy and utilities organizations annual conference a couple of weeks ago. And, you're looking at a potential 1 million engineers and scientists need in the environmental and energy sector to help us achieve change. Yeah. And I think we've sort of finished talking, haven't we? Or we should finish talking, because we've been for 45 minutes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd love to invite people to ask us some questions.
Yeah.
So sorry, some church bells have started ringing next to me. I hope it's not too
No, it's not too
loud.
Over to you, Rob, if there are any questions.
Sorry, I'll just come off mute. There's not any I can see in the chat, but if people want to come off, put the cameras on, we can see everyone, and just put your hand up, or do the Zoom hand at the bottom of the screen to ask Alan or Will some questions. And just to say thanks, Alan and Will, for an interesting and very thought-provoking discussion, stroke presentation.
Thank you.
So, anyone with any questions for Alan or for Will?
Well, maybe sorry.
Go on. Yeah.
No, I was maybe I can start. So I just have a quick question. I really like the file you share on the screen, Alan. I was just curious. In your long career, have you tried doing that for some of your key positions, or what is your experience with that type of organized approach for career development?
I'm just going to share my screen again. Jesus, come on. What can you see?
Okay, the response.
Well, this is mine. And it goes back. Those are all the jobs I've held. These are all the things I've done. And I've now got, hey, maybe I can start a movement. Hey, will I be master? I did this in 2004. And I'd really like to do more lecturing and things. I've been fortunate that I only applied for 2 jobs out of the 8 that I've earned. I was interviewed by a lady once that wanted to understand my career through leadership. And she said it was because of who I was. So I've put a lot of effort into understanding myself. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is a great book to read. So I put a lot of effort into personal development. And I've volunteered. I've been non-executive director of a number of organizations, Chemical Industries Association. So yeah, I think it has helped me to progress. And it certainly helped me to continue developing and continue learning. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Alan. This is incredible.
I just think you need to continually be working on yourself. to improve yourself, to learn to. I'm studying longevity at the moment. Wish I did it when I was 20, quite honestly, because I've got a few things wrong along the way. And that's helped me tremendously. I'm a trustee of Bournemouth Heart Club, and I'm potentially going to give a lecture on that to them. So, yeah, doing things, continually developing. And to me, it's, read a lot, do lots of things.
Thank you.
I think, Will, you'd probably agree with, continue learning and doing things.
Oh, 100%. Yes, very much so. I can say a few things on that, but please interrupt me if there are any more questions. Interrupt me. I'm very, very keen to answer questions if anybody has them.
Come on, Millie, you can ask the question. Is Millie there?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
I am.
Cheers. Hi.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I just want to be quiet and and listen to you and learning from you guys. I actually I saw that Excel form before, and that actually helps me a lot. I was thinking about all the planning, but along the road, actually, I still got one question: is that I think the objective changes. I mean, like you said, if you want to be a finance director, and then you're gonna plan your way. And sometimes I find that as more information I received, and my objective and the direction changes all the time. So, I mean, how you guys navigate with the changes? I mean, the idea changes, like what do you like, and what kind of industry and sector you want to go in, and you find yourself interested in different things. Yeah, that's my question.
Okay. Will, do you want to defend that one?
It's such a relevant question. I'm really trying to think of a good answer to it. Well, for me, as I mentioned, kind of 5 years ago, I joined the sector. I wanted to be a humanitarian. And I tried to do that very, very actively. I joined, we have something called a surge platform, which is when there are humanitarian emergencies. Sometimes we deploy staff to support country programs responding to those emergencies. So I was looking at specific deployments that were WASH, and I was applying for them, and I wasn't getting them. I was really, really struggling to get them, and that was in part because the kind of entry requirements were like, you have been deploying to humanitarian emergencies for 20 years plus and have been the WASH technical lead for like 5 responses. That it was really, really high, and I was just never. I was always just constantly asking myself that question of, well, how do you build that up? How do you build that experience to then go and kind of do that role? So yeah, found that really challenging, and that led up to the decision to do the masters, which I'm now in my 3rd year of, hopefully final year. And so I'm very much asking myself that question of like, I'm revisiting the objective from 3 years ago, 5 years ago kind of thing. And like, I had this idea of what I wanted to do, and I made these very big financial decisions to get myself there. And now I'm nearly there, hopefully. But at the same time, the humanitarian sector faces extraordinary challenges in terms of a contraction of funding globally. There is a real withdrawal of political prioritization in humanitarian issues, which is extremely concerning. And so there is a contraction. And my organization, Save the Children, has been through 2 successive restructures in the last kind of 12 to 18 months, and we've lost thousands of staff. I have seen friends, colleagues who are extraordinary specialists in other areas of kind of humanitarian response. So for instance, what we call MHPSS, which is mental health and psychosocial support. So people that have got master's degrees, PhDs in psychology, for instance, losing their jobs and then finding themselves in a pool of kind of 1,000 applicants for different jobs. And that job may also be a huge compromise or may not really be the thing that they're highly qualified to do. So that is the environment for many humanitarians right now. And so that also, I've made these decisions. I'm looking at that as well. And I'm trying to figure that out. So I am constantly reassessing the objective and kind of coming back to the question of, well, I still want to be of service. I want to be of value. And how does that happen? How does that come about? And part of my strategy for that is to widen my skill set, particularly in developing applications, for instance. And my dissertation is about machine learning, using machine learning to basically predict how chlorine decays in water systems, for instance. I've also been involved in developing an app through Rural Schools Water Project, which is essentially a tool that does some calculations for you very quickly as you design and evaluate rainwater systems. So for me, that is also part of my kind of exactly that question you just asked, right? What is the objective? And yeah, how can I be most useful? So it's kind of like a non-answer. I just kind of waffled in response to that. It's like the question.
Any more questions from anyone?
Sorry?
Yeah. Can I ask, Will, are you coming next week to our new members evening?
I didn't actually know about it. Depending on when it is, I would love to be there. So I will definitely get the details of that and let you know for sure.
Yeah, because from what you were saying, I was similar to you in that my degree was in economics, but I wanted to go to the environmental field. And like you, first of all, I couldn't find a job in the environmental field. Mind you, I was doing it a long time before you, concept. But later on, I then went into a merchant bank and then an American merchant bank. So I earned loads of money, but I still wanted to do the environment. So I went into government policy, working on government policy, and then I went to United Nations, first in Rome, and like you, I went to Uganda. But with all this experience, both economics, which is very important, but with environmental experience and working with an NGO, you have got a lot of skill sets that a lot of people don't have. So I'd just like to sit down sometime and explore with you the options you might have. So we can send you, I think, Rob, we can send you the details for the meeting next week. Otherwise, we can sit down separately or with Ramel and go over some possibilities for you.
Yeah.
That's very kind. I would love to do that. Thank you so much.
I shared that with you, Will. And actually, I wanted to make that connection, actually, with you, Christine and Will. So I'm very happy that you joined. And actually, it was excellent.
I think, Ramon, just to stop you, because I picked on Millie, which is a European name, because I actually mentor her. And I think one thing that the water conservators can do, should do more of, is exactly what's just happened. That potentially, Christine can end up helping Will in his career, because we've got a lot of senior people, haven't we? And we need to facilitate that better.
Yeah,
sorry,
happy to do it.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Christine.
Thank you.
Any more questions? And I'll the next management meeting, I'll ask the question, why is it some of the associates don't understand that this event's happening? It's either you get flooded with emails and you don't look at them, or you've not been distributed So I'll get to the bottom of that. Will, can you think of anything else? Why did you join the Water Conservatives?
Precisely to have these kinds of conversations. Yes, to seek clarity, to build my understanding of what is possible. I kind of find it funny saying that I'm a WASH person in a way. I am a WASH person. I have a lot of very practical expertise and now academic kind of background in that space. But I've never worked full-time in a job which one might call a WASH job, right? I've worked in the humanitarian sector, in a back office function in IT. I've gone and got involved in WASH stuff, but I've never been the kind of key role in that situation, or kind of dedicated WASH. So it's kind of it's kind of funny, and that has been an objective for me, right? Be in that kind of work, and finding out how to get there, how to prepare for that, has been very, very challenging. So I'm looking for that kind of guidance, right? Like who can help guide me through that kind of process of discovery.
Yeah, I think there are a number of us who can help there.
And that's I'm delighted. Very, very
cool, good.
And for women, because it's extra difficult for women to get into the field too.
Yes,
you have to be much harder.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's bloody hard to get from MSc into your first job. Really, it is difficult. So there needs to be work on that from the government, I think. Any more? Well, Will, thank you for your time. It's been fun talking.
Thank you too. Yeah. I've enjoyed it very much.
Yeah.
So Ramon, if you could put us in touch,
definitely,
that would be a good idea.
I will do that by now. Thank you, Christine, and thank you, Will. Well, thank
you,
Alan, of course.
I also don't mind like sharing my email if anybody here has a question later on or like wants to chat. I know I'm the less experienced kind of speaker here, but I'm very happy to chat as well. So yeah, I'm very happy for my email to be shared if anybody would like to get in touch.
Yeah,